It was a normal Tuesday in the quiet town of Bloxville, where every day seemed to blend into the next. The streets were peaceful, and the houses stood in neat rows, each one looking almost exactly like its neighbor. The sun was shining brightly, casting a warm golden glow over the neighborhood. Birds chirped cheerfully as they flitted from tree to tree, filling the air with their sweet songs. It felt like just another ordinary day, with nothing out of the ordinary in sight. Harold, a curious and imaginative boy, made his way to school as usual. He greeted his friends, sat through his classes, and at lunchtime he enjoyed his favorite snack, a perfectly ripe banana. Everything seemed perfectly normal, just like every other Tuesday. The hours ticked by slowly, with students yawning and glancing at the clock, waiting for the day to end. In Bloxville, nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. Days passed quietly, marked only by the turning of calendar pages. But then, out of nowhere, boom! A thunderous sound shattered the calm. Everyone stopped in their tracks, eyes wide with surprise. Something incredible was happening, something no one in Bloxville had ever seen before. A mysterious glowing object streaked through the sky and landed with a thud right in Harold's backyard, sending a small shockwave through the grass and scattering a few startled birds. When Harold rushed outside, he found a round, colorful fruit nestled in the grass. It shimmered with a magical aura, sparkling in the sunlight. The air was filled with a sweet scent, like a mix of bananas and strawberries, making Harold's mouth water in amazement. Harold knelt down, examining the strange fruit closely. He had never seen anything like it before. What could this weird glowing thing possibly be? Was it safe? Was it magical? His mind raced with questions and wild ideas. And then as he looked closer, Harold realized what it was. A Blox fruit. The legendary fruit from stories and games, right there in his own backyard. This was the start of an adventure he would never forget. Blox fruits are like magic fruits. They give you superpowers. There are lots of different Blox fruits. Some look like apples, and some look like grapes. Each fruit gives you a different power. Want to fly? Eat a Blox fruit. Want to shoot fire? Eat a Blox fruit. Want to become invisible? Eat a Blox fruit. But be careful. Some Blox fruits can be dangerous. All across the land, people began to notice something truly extraordinary. Blox fruits were appearing everywhere in the most unexpected places. These magical fruits shimmered with bright colors and seemed to float, waiting to be discovered by anyone lucky enough to spot them. You could find them hanging from the tallest trees, drifting gently down sparkling rivers, or even nestled among the wildflowers in a sunny meadow. Some people even spotted them bobbing along in the rain, as if the fruits themselves were playing hide and seek. And believe it or not, Blox fruits even popped up in the most ordinary places, like inside cereal boxes at breakfast time. Imagine pouring out your cereal and finding a glowing magical fruit tumbling into your bowl. Every morning became an adventure, with kids hoping to discover a Blox fruit before school. One day, a curious kid decided to take a bite of a Blox fruit. Suddenly, he felt lighter than air, and before he knew it, he had sprouted a pair of sparkling wings. With a big grin, he soared out the window, amazed at his new ability to fly. He zipped through the clouds, zooming to school and back home in record time. His friends watched in awe as he looped and twirled above their heads, waving from the sky. Every day became a new adventure as he explored the world from above. Not just kids, but adults were curious too. A teacher at the local school tried a Blox fruit and was amazed to discover she could control water with just a wave of her hand. She could make water dance, swirl, and even form shapes in the air. She created a giant, sparkling water fountain right in the middle of the playground, sending rainbows glimmering through the mist. The children laughed and played, splashing in the magical water, while the teacher watched with a proud smile. Even grandmas joined in the fun. One adventurous grandma took a bite of a Blox fruit and suddenly found she could talk to animals. Birds, squirrels, and even the neighbor's cat would gather around her, eager to chat and share their stories. She hosted delightful tea parties in her garden, sipping tea with squirrels and pigeons, laughing at their jokes and listening to their tales. With Blox fruits, every day was filled with magic, surprises, and a little bit of wonder for everyone. Blox fruits made everything more fun. Kids raced to school with super speed. Chefs cooked delicious meals with fire powers. Parents cleaned the house with wind powers. Even babies could use Blox fruit powers. One baby used telekinesis to change its own diaper. That was super helpful. But Blox fruits cause problems too. Some people used their powers for bad things. They stole stuff. They cheated on tests. They started food fights with flying spaghetti. It was chaos. The president had a meeting. We need rules. Blox fruit powers are awesome, but we need to use them safely. So, after a lot of chaos and wild adventures, the leaders decided it was finally time to set some boundaries. They made brand new rules for everyone who had Blox fruit powers. These rules were written in a magical law book, glowing with energy, so that no one could pretend they didn't know about them. The rules were clear, strict, and meant to keep everyone safe and happy. The first rule was simple: no using Blox fruit powers at school. That meant no teleporting to class, no turning invisible to skip homework, and definitely no summoning storms in the cafeteria. School was for learning, not for showing off your magical abilities or causing trouble with your powers. The second rule was just as important: no using Blox fruit powers to steal. Whether it was snacks, toys, or even someone's homework, using your powers to take things that didn't belong to you was strictly forbidden. Anyone caught breaking this rule would be in big trouble. And the third rule: absolutely no using Blox fruit powers to control your little sister's mind, or anyone else's for that matter. Mind control was considered the most unfair trick of all, and the new rules made sure everyone knew it was off limits. To make sure these rules were followed, a special team was created: the Blox Fruit Police. These officers wore badges that glowed with the power of the fruits, and they patrolled the city, always on the lookout for anyone breaking the rules. The Blox Fruit Police had a big job. They checked lists, watched over crowds with magical drones, and made sure everyone was playing fair. If you followed the rules, you had nothing to worry about. They were there to help keep the peace. If you were good and respected the new rules, you could keep your amazing Blox fruit powers. You could use them for fun, for helping others, and for making the world a better place. But if you broke the rules, there was a consequence. You had to eat a special dull fruit that would take away your powers. It tasted terrible, and losing your magic was the worst punishment of all. So everyone tried their best to follow the new rules and use their powers wisely. Life with Blox fruits was wild. It was exciting, it was dangerous, it was never boring. People could fly, people could teleport, people could even turn into giant hamsters. The world was a much more interesting place. Even Harold had to admit life was way more exciting with Blox fruits.